Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. When we think of casinos or online gaming, our minds instantly go to flashing lights and massive jackpots, right? But behind all that pure entertainment is a surprisingly strict regulatory reality. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the gaming industry to explore what actually happens when entertainment collides with addiction, and how operators have to fight to protect their very right to exist.
Here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the problem gambling threat. Second, losing the social license. Third, responsible gambling standards. And finally, tracking venue and iGaming metrics. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The problem gambling threat. Entertainment versus addiction.
So let's establish something right off the bat. Pathological gambling isn't just some bad habit. The standard clearly defines it as a progressive addiction, characterized by this overwhelming, increasing preoccupation with betting. And here is the core tension for the whole industry. Casinos don't necessarily cause problem gambling, but they absolutely provide the opportunity for it. And because operators can often earn disproportionately higher revenue from addicted patrons, well, they face a constant, intense negative public perception. It's a massive risk.
Moving on to Section 2. Losing the social license. The downward spiral.
This tension creates a seriously dangerous downward spiral that can literally dismantle a gaming operator overnight. Think of it like a chain reaction. It all starts with a failure to manage problem gambling, which inevitably leads to operational violations. Naturally, those violations leak out, causing highly publicized incidents, terrible PR, and immense brand damage. But it doesn't end with a bad news cycle. Because this industry is so heavily regulated, that negative perception forces regulators to step in and curtail operating licenses. And obviously, without a license, the business ceases to exist. Poof, gone. Okay, so what actually triggers this spiral? It usually boils down to 4 critical operational failures. First up, violating self-exclusion lists. This is when patrons proactively ask to be banned to protect themselves, and the casino just fails to honor it. Second, using irresponsible, predatory advertising. Third, allowing minors to gamble. And fourth, basically enabling the addiction in any other way. Failing on any of these fronts pretty much guarantees the exact kind of publicity that destroys a company's social license to operate.
This leaves operators facing a very clear choice. On one hand, they can do nothing. That leads to reactive curtailment, basically just waiting around for a disaster to happen, resulting in smashed reputations and lost licenses. Or on the other hand, they can mount a proactive defense. By actively adopting industry best practices and strict self-exclusion systems, they can mitigate problem gambling before it snowballs out of control. It's totally crucial to understand that this is no longer just some moral imperative. It is a strict legal and operational necessity. Which brings us to Section 3, Responsible Gambling Standards, the SASB framework.
So you might be wondering, how do regulators and investors actually track this proactive defense? Enter the SASB standards, which are now overseen by the International Sustainability Standards Board. They require gaming companies to identify risks that could directly affect their cash flow or cost of capital. To put that in plain terms, managing problem gambling isn't just some side project for the PR team anymore. No way. It is a core, fundamental financial risk that directly impacts the bottom line. What's fascinating here is that the framework treats responsible gaming as a distinct, hard metric. It sits right alongside physical operational risks like energy management and serious security issues like money laundering. And the most important takeaway, it is categorized as a strictly quantitative metric. We're not talking about a fluffy narrative essay about how much an operator cares. It is a hard, cold number measured by a percentage of revenue.
Let's dive deeper in Section 4, Tracking Venue and iGaming Metrics. To actually measure this stuff, the SASB framework neatly separates reporting into 2 distinct environments. One standard applies to physical, brick-and-mortar venues, and the other applies to iGaming, online betting platforms. For both spaces, compliance is measured against the rigorous standards developed by the Responsible Gambling Council, and the ultimate unit of measure? The percentage of implementation, weighted by revenue. Now, why use revenue weighting? Because it creates true accountability. An operator can't just check a box somewhere and claim total corporate compliance. Actually, scratch that. They literally have to calculate a weighting factor based on exactly how much money each specific venue or website makes. This mathematical formula ensures that the absolute most lucrative parts of the business, the ones potentially making the most money off vulnerable players, are held to the highest, most verifiable standards. It's a brilliant way to keep them honest.
And this leaves us with a critical question to think about. These standards give us a fantastic framework for accountability today. But
As iGaming expands globally and betting becomes accessible 24/7 right from our smartphones, will the sheer ease of digital access completely outpace the industry's proactive defenses? Can operators truly maintain their social license to operate in a fully digital, constantly connected world? It's a massive tension for sure, and it's one that investors, regulators, and the industry will be balancing for years to come.